Okay, here's our video on rationalizing the denominator. It sounds complicated, but let's work it out, right? So all that means is when you have a fraction that has a radical sign. For example, let's say you had 2 over the square root of 3. So we want to rationalize this. Basically, we're just going to try to find an equivalent fraction. And what you do is you're just going to you're going to times 2 over the square root of 3 by the square root of 3. Just do that. Okay? Let me move this over so we can get what it equals. Okay? So now the square root of 3 and times the square root of 3, if you remember when we multiplied radicals, is going to be the square root of 9, which is a perfect square. We know that's 3. And this answer will be 2 square root of 3. So now the square root of 9 will erase, and here's the answer. So we rationalized the denominator. So let's look at another one. Rationalize the denominator. Let's say we had a coefficient of 3, then the square root of 2, divided by 2 and the square root of 3. So we want to rationalize the denominator. Say that a couple of times, right? So do not include the 2. Only include the radical. So we're going to times it by the square root of 3. Just the radical, not the coefficient. Or the constant term, actually. So what do you think this will equal? So this will be 3, and then square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 6. Fix that. And here we have a 2, we kept a 2, and then the square root of 9. And what is the square root of 9? 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. So this is what we have so far. And then again, the square root of 9 is 3. So we can make that a 3. And 3 times 2, it's just 3 times 2. So our final answer will be 6. Let's do a few more. What if you had 10 square root of 5? How would you rationalize that? Again, you multiply by the square root of 5. So this will be 10 square root of 5. And the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25. Right? And what's the square root of 25? 5. But we're not done yet. Because what's 10 divided by 5? This is division right here. It's 2. So the final answer, bring this down, final answer will be 2 square root of 5. Final answer. Again, look at it. Because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So let's do another one. Let's rationalize the denominator. What if I had a 3 square root of 7 over the 4 square root of 7? Let's look at this for a minute. What if we just take the square root of 7 and we do the square root of 7 on the bottom? We don't touch the constant numbers. And over here we're going to have 3 square root of 49. And over here we're going to have 4 square root of 49. Let's fix that. Right? And the square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. So we have 28 up there. And the square root of 49 is 7, as we said. 7 times 3 is 21. We have 21/28. But wait a minute. What is 21/28 reduced? Reduce 21/28. Well, 7 goes into 21 3 times, and 7 goes into 28 4 times. So right away, we didn't have to do any of this. We could have just crossed that out right away, and there would be our answer. So watch out for this. Okay. What if we added now? What if I said 2 square root of 3 plus 1 square root of 5? How do we add this? We'll do more of this in another video, but we'll just do a preview here. Well, we have to rationalize the denominator, right? Let's rationalize the denominator for both of them. So over here we can use the square root of 3, right? Let me bring this down. So we'll make it a little smaller here. Square root of 3, we'll just do that one first, right? Square root of 3 and the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which is 3. So what do we have here? So I said we have 2 square root of 3 over 9. Over the square root of 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. All right? And then if we did this one, we have 1 square root of 5. And we're going to rationalize it by putting the square root of 5 on both sides. Right? And here the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which is 5. So we would have up here 1 square root of 5 over 5. And you don't have to put a 1. I mean, you can just leave it like that. So now we're ready for our second step. We have this to the next step. So when you add anything, when you add fractions, remember you need a common denominator. So the common denominator is 15. So let's erase this part on top here. Go up here. And let's write this over up here so we can see 2 square root of 3 over 3. We'll do this one first. If I put a 15 up here, I know that 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 5 times 2 is 10. So this gives me 10 square root of 3 over 15. That's for that one. And the other one, we had the square root of 5 over 5. Put the 15 up here. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times the square root of 5 is 3, the square root of 5 over 15. So now we have the same denominator. That's what we need. So our final answer, put it over here, is going to be 10, the square root of 3 over 15. I can erase this. Plus 3 square root of 5. All over 15. But we're going to do more of that in another video. Today we were just learning how to rationalize the denominator. Okay, let's look at this one. So here we have 6 over 5 the square root of 12. So we can rationalize this. We're going to times the square root of 12 on the top and on the bottom. That's how we rationalize. And here we're going to have 6 the square root of 12. Right? And over here we'll have 5, put a 5 there, and the square root of 12 times the square root of 12 is 144, the square root of 144. And the square root of 144 is 12. And what's 12 times 5? 60. Okay, well, we have that. But now let's look at the square root of 12 here. We can break that down actually. Square root of 12, and I'll bring this up a little more up here. Square root of 12, get rid of that arrow now, we don't need it. Square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 4 is 2. So we have 2 square root of 3. And we already had 6, so 2 times 6 is 12. So we have 12 square root of 12 over 60. Now we can reduce that. Well, not the square root of 12. We have 12 square root of 3 over 60. Now 12 goes into 65 times. So we're going to have 1 over the square root of 3. 1 times the square root of 3, that is. Bring this down. Over 5. So our answer is going to just be this square root of 3 over 5. That's our answer. So you should rewind the tape to see how I got that. So again, we'll use the square root of 12 like we do when we rationalize the denominators, right? The square root of 12 times the square root of 12 is the square root of 144, which is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60. And here we had 6 the square root of 12. The square root of 12, remember we said, was the square root of 4. Bring it up. It was the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 4 is 2, and 2 times 6 is 12. And that's how we got this. And then we just reduced. We don't need a 1, so here's our final answer. Great job.